And we're going to start our conversation today here because there's an article in Psychology Today asking, why do we often say we're fine? You know, when someone says, hey, how are you? I'm fine. But oftentimes maybe we're not. So why do we say I'm fine even when we don't mean it?
I think that we're these polite Canadians. We never want to inconvenience other people or make people scared that we're going to be a burden or something. But if I look at my own mental health journey, I spent 2 years with depression. And I'm so glad that my friends stuck with me and waited through it and were there on the other side for me. I couldn't give them anything during those 2 years. And then when I got better, I try and give to them. So when I ask someone, how are you doing? I make sure I ask it if I have the energy to be helpful to them. And, you know, I think people just take turns being in the driver's seat, being the strong one. And so, yeah, I think it's give and take, and you don't need to unload on everyone. But if you have that one good friend that you can just honestly say, oh my gosh, it's really hard, then that's helpful.
I love that answer, Jessica, and your honesty in saying when you ask someone if they're fine, you genuinely mean it. Like it's coming from a sincere space, which is just a beautiful, beautiful thing. Because I often think it's just like a social nicety. And I'll admit it, I often say, yeah, I'm okay, I'm fine, because big picture, I am fine. I am okay because, you know, it feels like the world is on fire. I have shelter. I have my health. I have a job. So yeah, I'm fine. I don't, you know, compared to so many other people. And sometimes I'll even admit I lie a bit and say I'm fine to a friend who means well. But it's because I don't want to go through sort of the mental exhaustion of them trying to fix me not being fine in that moment, if that makes sense. Like, they'll be like, oh, well, let's unpack this. Let's, you know, have you tried doing a downward dog? Have you tried going for a walk? Have you tried, you know, drinking more water? And all of those things would probably help me feel more fine. But I want to just sort of sometimes stew and let the anger, the anxiety, the frustration, not stew necessarily, that's the wrong word, but work through it on my own terms. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that that's good, Jess, and I totally relate to what you're saying. I think that the flip side, though, is that we tend to bottle up, or lots of people do, and they don't feel like they want to burden people, or they don't feel like they want to be honest. And I mean, I didn't think I actually said this very often. I thought I was pretty honest, but then I checked myself this morning, actually, when we just sort of did a technical check. Someone in our control room said, how you doing? And I went, fine. And I didn't even, it was just like a throwaway. I didn't even think about it. But I think that that's that kind of, it's actually kind of a reflection of the way in which we do many things in our day that are kind of mindless. And I think we should actually maybe think about that a little bit more, like both the asker of the question and the receiver of that question. Like, because if we're trying to genuinely connect in a meaningful way, maybe, I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but maybe there's a better question.
Our day would have to be longer than 24 hours. Yeah, so, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean that we shouldn't be connecting. I just mean that for somebody who might want to actually share, you know, that quick exchange in the hallway once upon a time, that exchange is not going to just be, hey, how are you? Checking in, good, moving on. It could actually be a very long time, because I think for some people who actually need an ear to be, you know, to listen to them, it shouldn't be something that's super, super quick. So I agree. Maybe that's, you know, because our lives are so rushed, or at least they were in the before time. So maybe that's the lesson. The one thing I'll throw in here is our job on this show is sharing a lot. We share, my mother reminds me, I share too much sometimes. And so the irony is that because I think the nature of our job is to share and tell everybody everything, I actually am very quiet on the other side. And I am, not that I would call myself an introvert, but I'm actually very protective of my privacy outside of the show sometimes with people who I'm not as close with, friends and families may be different. And I'm actually leaning into that for 2022, is to create a boundary. Like, I give a lot and I'm so happy to give and share on this show. But if I want to retreat into myself and not talk about everything I talk about in the show outside, I actually think that that's a healthier thing for me this year.
I love that.
Yeah, I
love that.
I think that, the idea behind this article is, the masking of reality with a phrase like "I'm fine," a creating of illusion. And in these times, our illusions surround us, right? From social media to television to whatever. So, there has been an attempt to break down those illusions, and that's why "I'm fine" in a certain sense can be damaging. But I really liked what you said, Jessica, about having energy to receive a not fine. That's a really great perspective. And there are times when even if you do have the energy, it's not appropriate. A lot of us are interacting like we are on Zoom. And imagine asking a question of someone and there are 40 people on the Zoom call. Sometimes a stock answer is the only one you can give. Mine has become, my stock answer has become, though, not "I'm fine," but I'll say, "Oh, And I feel like that works.
That's inviting another question, don't you think?
I don't know. I don't think
most
so.
people know.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's good.
It's one of those things where it implies, in brackets, I've been better, and I know that you've probably been better, and I feel like it's a little more inclusive, we're all in this, and,
Yeah.
So that's the stock answer I've used lately.
Yeah.